So today we students of STM Mechanical is going to do a presentation. So these are the group members, me, myself, Akash Chandran, roll number 7, along with Akhil Kumar KS, Alan Sunny, Ambadi S and Anak Sebastian. These are the contents of our presentation. We will be dealing with optical microscope, transmission electron microscope, scanning electron microscope, comparison between SEM and TEM, and grain size determination. So before moving into optical microscope, let me introduce what is microscope. A microscope is an instrument that can be used to observe small objects, even cells. The image of an object is magnified through at least one lens in the microscope. This lens bends light towards the eye and makes an object appear larger than it actually is, or uses electron beam to create a magnification about 50 million times. So a microscope is an instrument by which we can observe the magnified image of small objects, even cells, by the use of at least one lens in a microscope. There are two different types of microscope, mainly optical microscope and electron microscope. Now we move on to the first classification of microscope, that is optical microscope. The optical microscope is also known as a light microscope since it commonly uses visible light and a system of lenses to generate the magnified image of small objects. So there are two basic types of optical microscope. One simple microscope and other compound microscope. A simple microscope uses the optical power of single lens or group of lens for the magnification, whereas a compound microscope uses a system of lenses to achieve much higher magnification of an object. So these are the different microscope parts. A microscope has a ocular lens or eyepiece through which we are looking, and there is a head and a diopter adjustment, and there is a nose piece, a objective lens, arm, a stage clip and a mechanical stage, a aperture, a coarse adjustment, a fine adjustment, a illuminator, a base, a brightness adjustment and a light switch. So these are the different microscope parts. So this is a simple diagram of a simple microscope. In this, an object AB is magnified using a single convex lens to a magnified image A dash B dash. And this is the diagram of a compound microscope. In this, the object AB is magnified to image A dash B dash by the use of a objective lens, which is further magnified to A double dash B double dash by the eyepiece lens. So now let me move on to the working and application of the optical microscope. First, working. In optical microscope, light from a mirror is reflected through the specimen or object to be viewed into the powerful objective lens, which produces the first magnification. The image produced by the objective lens is then magnified again by the eyepiece lens, which act as a simple magnifying glass. The magnified image can be seen by looking into the eyepiece lens. And the applications of the optical microscope. It is extensively used in microelectronics, nanophysics, biotechnology, parametric research, mineralogy, and microbiology. The next portions will be taken by Akhil Kumar KS.
Good morning, sir. I am Akhil Kumar KS, roll number 8 from S3ME. So far, we have seen what are optical microscope and their uses. Now let's discuss about transmission electron microscope. The transmission electron microscope is one type of electron microscope in which its magnification is far way better and higher when compared to optical microscope. Also, this transmission electron microscope uses electron beam instead of light, which is used in case of optical microscope. Then is principle. The principle behind transmission electron microscope is, as we said, it uses electron beam instead of light, which is used in case of optical microscope, and also the shorter wavelength of electron beam make it possible to have better magnification and sound power for this transmission electron microscope, which enables it for 50 million times magnification. Then this sample preparation. This is one important and crucial step before viewing through the microscope. Also, it is a very complex procedure. The specimen thickness used for transmission electron microscope should be less than 100 nanometers, and also various tests have to be done on specimen before using it. These are number of tests which is used in transmission electron microscope specimen: the tissue sectioning, sample staining, mechanical milling, chemical etching, ion milling, and replication. This is a diagrammatic representation of transmission electron microscope. As we can see, there are various parts such as electron source or electron gun, the condenser lenses, condenser aperture, sample, objective lens, objective aperture, intermediate lens, projective lens, and the screen. All these parts will be explained in the working of transmission electron microscope. Mm, In the working of transmission electron microscope, the electron beam from the electron source or electron gun get focused into the specimen by the condenser lenses. These are magnetic lenses. Also, these condenser lenses have a column which make it easier to get a clear image by creating vacuum, which prevents electron collision. When electron beam reaches specimen, it gets scattered and we get clear image on the screen with the help of intermediate and projective lenses. The amount of electrons scattered depends upon the density of specimen. That is, the higher the density of the specimen, the higher the darkness of the image. The lesser the density, the less brighter the image. So, it defines the quality of the picture obtained. Next, the application. The transmission electron microscope got so many applications such as study in cell structure, nanoparticles, identification of fracture, and many other things. Explaining its pros and cons, it got so many advantages such as very high magnification rate when compared to normal microscope, high quality images, and ease of use, such that we can easily train someone to use this microscope. Also, it also got some cons such as it is very expensive. This is complex specimen preparation, as we said in the earlier slide. High vibration sensitivity, that is, a small vibration can affect the picture quality very badly. So that's all for the transmission electron microscope. Now my friend Alan Sunny will explain more about the scanning electron microscope, which is also an electron microscope. So that's all for me.
Hello everyone, myself Alan Sunny, S3 Mechanical, roll number 9. I am going to take the topic SEM, which means Scanning Electron Microscope. The specimens used in this microscope have some specifications, that is, it need not to be polished or etched, but at the same time it should be electrically conductive. If you are using a non-conductive material as the specimen, a thin layer of metallic coating will be used in that specimen for making it into a electrically conductive material. By using scanning electron microscope, it is possible to have a magnification level of 50,000 times, and at the same time it provides a resolution range from 10 raised to minus 4 meter to 10 raised to minus 8 meter. The surface of the specimens is scanned by an electronic beam, and later it gets reflected or scattered, and then it gets displayed on the cathode ray tube. The image which is displayed on the cathode ray tube represent the surface details of the specimen. Now this is the diagram of scanning electron microscope. Okay, then now we can deal with its working. The electrons are emitted by the cathode. Later they get accelerated and focused as a thin beam into the specimen. When these electrons from the cathode gets hits on the specimen, secondary electrons are emitted or they scattered back. The current from these electrons are measured and displayed as the intensity on the monitor. In scanning electron microscope, it provides a narrow electron beam which is useful for the observation of irregular surface or irregular shapes. In scanning electron microscope, uh, electron beams are focused to a spot of diameter range 20 to 100. The diameter of a scanning electron probe determines the resolution of the image, and HCM provides better details of the surface and contouring. So that's all about scanning electron microscope. Thank you.
Good morning to all. Myself Ambadi S3ME roll number 10, and I am here to present a simple presentation on the topic comparison of SEM and TEM. So from the previous slides we have already studied what is SEM and TEM. So now let us get on with my topic, that is comparison of SEM and TEM. And in this I am going to explain the main differences between this SEM and TEM, and for that I am using the help of a table. So now I will tell the summary of this table. That is, in this it is saying that the two electron microscope systems also differ in the way that they are getting operated. This SEMs usually uses an acceleration voltages that is up to 30 kilovolt, while the TEM users can set it in the range of 60 to 300 kilovolt. And if you are saying about the magnification capacity, the magnifications that the TEM offers are also much higher compared to the SEMs. And in the TEM, the users can magnify their samples by more than 50 million times, while for the SEM this is limited up to 1 to 2 million times. However, the maximum field of view that SEM can achieve is far larger than the TEMs, which user can only use to image a very small part of their sample. Similarly, the depth of the field of SEM systems are much higher than in the TEM systems also. And in addition to that we can say that the way images are created are different in the two systems. In SEMs, samples are positioned at the bottom of the electron column, and the scattered electrons are captured by the electron detectors. Photomultipliers are then used to convert this signal into the voltage signal, which is amplified and given rise to the image on a PC screen. And in a TEM microscope, the sample is located in the middle of the column. The transmitted electrons pass through it and through a series of lenses below the sample. An image is directly shown on a fluorescent screen or via a charged coupled device camera onto a PC screen. And generally, these TEMs are more complex to operate. TEM usage requires intensive training before being able to operate them. Special procedures need to be performed before every use, with several steps included that ensure that the electron beam is perfectly aligned. In this table, you can see a summary of the main difference between SEM and TEM. So that is all about this table, and in the next slide I am going to show the pictorial representation of this SEM, as you can see. So from this image itself we can understand the main difference of a SEM and a TEM. On the next slide I will also show the pictorial representation of the TEM also. So first let me explain this figure. That is, in this in this figure, as you can see, that to obtain a higher resolution image, an electron source emits a stream of high energy electrons towards a sample. The electron beam is then focused using an electromagnetic lens. Once the focused stream reaches the sample, it scans its surface in a rectangular raster. Then the interaction between the electron beam and the sample creates a secondary electrons and the back scattered electrons and the X-rays. These interactions are captured to create a magnified image of that sample. So this is how this SEM is working, and from the figure itself we can understand how this is working, and next I will explain how the TEM is going to work. And this is the pictorial representation of the TEM. So this will be similar to this SEM also, but there are differences in this figure. So let me explain how this is working. And in this we are using an electron source to send a beam of electrons through an ultra thin sample. When the electrons penetrate the sample, they pass through lenses below. This data is used to create images directly on a fluorescent screen or onto a computer screen using a charged coupled device camera. So this is how the TEM is working. By simply analyzing these both pictures also we can understand the main differences between them. So that's all about my topic, and for the rest of the topic I am inviting Anak Sebastian. That's all, thank you.
Morning one and all, I am Anak Sebastian MR of S3 Mechanical Batch, roll number 11. Today I am going to speak about the topic grain size determination. In this topic we will discuss about how grain size varies and about its effects, and also how it is standardized, and finally the method to determine the grain size by a formula. Now in this slide it shows that grain size varies inversely with grain boundary area. While the grain boundary area affects different properties like diffusion rate, nucleation, strength, rate of corrosion, etc. And this is a graph showing how mechanical properties gets affected due to increasing grain size. Here ductility increases when the grain size increases, while other properties like strength and toughness which gets decreased due to the increasing grain size. Now, the grain size and number of grains are usually quantified by standard means by American Society for Test of Materials, which is known by the short form ASTM. And this grain size is specified by an index called ASTM grain size number. And it's a table showing standard comparison chart for ASTM number. Now in this slide we will learn how to determine grain size. At first, the specimen is prepared so as to reveal the grain structure and is photographed under a magnification of 100 into, and then it is compared to a comparison charts having different grain sizes, and the grain size is expressed as the grain size number of the standard chart that matches the grain size of the specimen. Using the formula capital N equal to 2 raised to n minus 1, we could find grain size number, where capital N is the average number of grains per square inches at a magnification of 100 into, and small n is the grain size number. A large grain ASTM size number indicates a large number of grains of a fine grain size and correlates with high strength of material. Thank you.